Aide, Survivorship by George, Lola, Hope, Serenity, and I. Our next slide here is just going to be the table of contents, not in any specific order or anything. It's just breaking down who did what. So now, to begin with, we're going to talk about animal migration and what it is. So migration is an extensive relocation from animals from one region to another. An example that I pulled from an article talks about how migration is sustainable development. So this kind of just represents how migration helps with the development of an animal because it helps them find the best climate that they can strive in. This essentially animals migrate for their benefit to help survive by relocating to new environments. Also in search of food and breeding. The types of animal migration, it's important to understand that there is multiple types of animal migration. According to an article, it mentions that one main factor that would be due to migration is the climate and land usage. This helps better understand that weather plays a huge role into animals migrating, excuse me. um, Also, in an article, it discusses how sea turtles are affected habitats and life cycle stages by climate change. This also explains how the weather has a huge role on turtles migrating. Also, some animals migrate due to reproducing purposes. Um, Also, animals do not adhere to a defined route. So this just means that they all kind of end up in the same region, but they don't have a defined route to get to that region. Excuse me. Nomadic migration is when animals are continuously moving in search of food, um, shelter, and water. This just causes them to migrate automatically. Um, Anyways, vertical migration occurs only in water. This is when organisms such as zooplankton ascend to the surface at night to eat and then dive deeper during night to avoid predators. So looking at the causes of animal migration, there could be a shift in weather causing food shortage. For example, birds migrate when the weather gets too cold. I had a little picture on the first slide representing that. Others travel to safe breeding grounds. Here's a picture to the right of how turtles do that specifically, reaching the beach, laying their eggs, and then retrieving back into the ocean. I thought it was interesting how they're able to reproduce like that. Um, and an article mentions how some fish move north during the summer to just feed. This helps explain some of the cause of migration patterns, and then finally, animals migrate to avoid danger.
So I will be doing predator and prey defense behaviors. So there's kind of like a lot of similarities between the two, but there are some differences. Like predators, what they do is they hunt an organism for food, and then prey, they like to hide or let's say run away / avoid from being another organism's food. And in the next slide, I'm going to go into detail about how this relationship works and how both behaviors are just the animals trying to survive. So the next slide shows the food web, and it's kind of the relationship between a predator and, let's say, a prey. This cycle kind of goes on, and it's kind of how our ecosystems function. So you have like kind of at the bottom, you have the producers, and then you kind of have the primary consumers, which would be the prey in this example, and then the secondary consumers, which would be predator and prey, depending on if you look at the next trophic level, which is our like top predators, the fox and the hawk. And as we can see, this cycle kind of goes on, and then our top predators do end up dying eventually, and then it goes back to decomposers. But if we don't have like this kind of relationship between the two, our ecosystem can't function and they wouldn't either, these animals. So like our prey, they are going to adapt, and then there's going to be less predators because they can't catch their food as well. And then there's going to be more predators when they adapt, and then there's going to be less prey because they're all going to be eaten, sorry. And this is just kind of like a constant battle between the two, and it's how our ecosystems function. And then the next slide is our predator behaviors. And these are like some of the traits that they have. They can have like claws, talons, sharp teeth. They usually have larger bodies, but not always than their prey. And some examples could be like lions, cheetahs, eagles, sharks, cheetahs. For example, like lions, their fur color is like the same color as like the savanna grass that they live in. It's like this tannish color, which kind of helps them blend in and not be spotted to camouflage and to be able to get their prey. As well as like speed and agility come into play when we think about like cheetahs. They are the fastest animal on the planet and they have to be able to catch their prey, like shown in the picture here, antelopes. And they have to make these quick side to side swift movements to be able to keep up. And then hunting tactics like a panther, they like to stalk their prey and then they kind of wait for the perfect moment when the prey may not be looking to pounce and attack. As well as like you have a different type of hunting tactic like wolves, they like to hunt in packs and they kind of surround their prey to create this higher chance of getting their prey and them not being able to run away. And then prey defense behaviors, their traits, they have some similar things to predators, but they don't have all the same things because they are trying to hide instead of attack. Some traits include like emitting chemicals like poison dart tree frogs. They emit a chemical so other animals will not want to eat them. Porcupines, they have quills on their back and that protects them from being eaten. And then turtles have hard shells, that helps them hide from their prey. This hard covering protects their organs because they can go into their shell and other animals will not be able to eat them. Prey, as well as like our predators, which I said before, they have speed and camouflage as well, but it's used differently. Rabbits have to be able to get up quickly and flee, and like the flight or flight response, they have to be able to have the flight and run away from, let's say, a fox chasing them. Chameleons, they are sometimes known as predators, but in this example, they are prey. And they can change various colors of shades of green to be able to blend into, let's say, the rainforest environment. They as well have eyes that look in two different directions. So being able to have this camouflage and eyes that look in two different directions help them hide from prey, like birds from above or like snakes that might be trying to come after them.
All right, today I'm going to be talking about reproductive behaviors, first with mating strategies. So this begins with mate selection, which includes mate choice and competition. And sexual selection is going to be a unique form of natural selection because it relies on an organism's ability to obtain and successfully copulate with a mate. And this is related to courtship displays, which include rituals, calls, dances, and pheromones. And what a specific species uses is going to be specific to them. And the healthier that a species is, the more likely that he or she is going to be able to keep up with the courtship display, whether it be a dance or ritual. So species are able to pick other mates who are most likely to help their own genes successfully be passed on into future generations. And then finally, we have monogamous and polygamous behaviors. A monogamous relationship is where a species has just one mate, whether it be for a specific season or for their whole life. And they'll do this because their young need more care and more focus. Or in a polygamous relationship, species will have potentially multiple mates, or like one male species will have multiple female species, and the female species and organisms will pick him because he has better resources, so her young will be more likely to survive. And then once you have the mating, you kind of have your parental investment on the next slide, and this begins with egg guarding and nest building, because this is just the process of how animals allocate their resources to the offspring, and this begins before they're even born and begins with setting up their habitat so they can safely come in. So how a parent is able to care for their young begins with, is it both parents caring for them or just one? It's different per different species. And then the different care that would be expected to give. There's two different main types, depreciable and non-depreciable. Depreciable care, the more offspring that an organism has, the less able they will be to care for all their young. So if they have 10 babies, it's going to be harder to feed all of them. Non-depreciable care, it doesn't affect how many offspring they have. They can have 10 offspring, but they're still going to fight to protect them just the same. And then finally, all parents of any species are going to be tasked with providing for their offspring both a safe place to live and food, protecting them from predators, and then teaching them survival skills so they can both feed and protect themselves one day. And then finally, we have the timing and strategies that reproduction occurs. Seasonal breeding refers to the different seasons that breeding will occur, different for different species. It's going to be in a season that increases the likelihood that the young will survive. And then R and K selection strategies. R is used for frogs and similar animals where they have high rates of offspring because there's a low survival rate. And they do this because their environments are super unpredictable and their young are super self-sufficient at birth, whereas K selection strategies is going to be more elephants and whales, species that are in more stable environments. They're going to have less young, but their young are going to survive into adulthood at a lot higher rates, and then their young are going to need a lot more care initially. And then finally, fertilization and development occurs when the egg meets the sperm and forms a zygote that grows into the organism. This can occur internally within the female body or externally outside the female body, which you're going to see in water. And then it's just going to be how the organism grows from the zygote into the species itself. And then development can be delayed. You'll see this in kangaroos where they can delay their embryo from growing into a full baby kangaroo until the environment is safe and can handle them.
And then I'm going to be doing social and cooperative behaviors. These are going to consist of different actions and interactions that individuals within the same species have with one another. This is more than just mere instinct as well. These behaviors are also acquired through environmental and interpersonal pressures as well as having it as an instinct. These behaviors play a crucial role in survival because it allows for food acquisition, communication between the group, and it also allows for more time for offspring and reproduction. And then we're going to discuss specifically the social behaviors next. The social behaviors consist of interactions between individuals within the same species. These interactions dictate the way in which animals act amongst each other and how their group is expected to function. This can be seen through specific hierarchies, such as within the wolves, there's going to be 3 different levels, alpha, beta, and omega. Alpha and their partner are going to be the packs of the group, or the leaders of the group, and then the omegas are the second in command, or the betas are second in command, and omegas are going to be the submissive group. Hierarchies like this one enables individuals to know who to go to for commands and what they are expected to do within the group. This is also seen with learning and skill transfer when the young are first learning how to hunt and provide for the group, as well as new members. They are given skills that they need in order to be successful within the group. This also leads into division of labor. There's the individuals within the group are split up depending on what skills they have and versus what weaknesses they have. And this is something that enables everyone to do their fair share in the group. Altruism and kin selection is also going to be important for social behaviors that help in survival. An example of this is going to be monkeys picking bugs off of each other. This amplifies the recipient's hygiene as well as it provides a connection between the individuals in the group. This is also seen with communication and language. Specific communication and language is used during mating, also to provide warning calls for danger or if a prey is coming in closer so that the entire group knows what is going on. And then regarding cooperative behaviors, these are going to be different actions and interactions that animals formulate within their specific group or species in order to upkeep their their stability of their population. Many animals share tasks. This is seen with the orcas while hunting. There's going to be some who do the chasing, cornering, and then ambushing, and this task sharing allows for completion of prey retrieval. There's also group defense and alarm calls behaviors that are used, such as with elephants and zebras. They travel in packs. The strongest members will be on the beginning and the end of the line, and then the weakest members and the young will be in the middle, just to ensure that they are protected. This is also seen in resource sharing. Each member in the group is expected with a task. Their task either brings in food or raises the young, and these resources are all shared amongst each other just to make sure everyone is getting the most fair portion of survival. This ties into specialized roles because each individual within the group is expected to complete some task that provides to the group. And so when these roles are split up, that enables for everyone to make sure that they are getting an equal amount of resources as well as doing an equal amount of work. And all of these enable for more time to reproduce and progress the groups as well.
Okay, so foraging and feeding behaviors. So basically what foraging is it's a gathering of essential resources from a natural environment, such as food, meat, or any other type of food item. There are two types of foraging, which is solitary foraging. It is just one animal that finds its own food for itself. A group foraging is a group of animals that prey upon other individuals for their own benefit and the resources for themselves. The evolution of foraging behavior, it examines the evolution of gathering of food. Examples is fruit flies and how they examine them over time. It goes on with the next slide with fruit flies right here. It also has a correlation with optimal foraging. Basically, it strategizes the benefits between the nutrition and the cost of obtaining the food. So in order to build the optimal foraging model, what we need is currency and constraints. Those are the two key points. Currency is basically the benefit and the cost for the animal, and the constraints is the limitations that they have for food resource. The risk and the rewards, basically the risk maximizes the energy gain while minimizing the energy cost, and rewards is competition, being able to capture larger prey that are dangerous and avoid food items that might have parasites in them. Mating behavior and mate choice, basically what it is, it's the choice that females usually take, such as competitions with males, see which one is more dominant to reproduce, also to continue the generational behavior for their youngins, and then also the mating is not really promiscuous, such as humans. They're really just monogamous and polygamous. And as for genetics, foraging behavior is widely influenced. They do a lot of studies that was mentioned back at the optimal foraging.